Welcome back. Joining us to share his organization's cloud success story is Rahul Jain, CTO OLX. Welcome, Rahul. We are delighted to have you here. I request Sheena George, partner EY, to kindly moderate and steer this conversation. Over to you, Sheena.
Thank you, Deepthi, and warm welcome, Rahul. It's great to have you here. I'll dive into the topic straight away. How are you planning to or have already modernized your infrastructure, whether it is related to application or storage? And what are some of the most desired new technologies which you have or are looking to leverage as part of such a modernization journey? Would you please be kind to share some of your use cases to bring this to life? You're on mute, Rahul.
Apologies. Classic problem of being on Zoom. So sorry for that. Thanks a lot, Sheena, for the welcome, and definitely the most interesting and probably and most important questions nowadays. Definitely the cloud strategy, how we played in OLX. But before I get into that, let me quickly share what we are doing, and so that I can correlate it during the overall story and where we are in terms of our cloud journey. So see, OLX, specifically what I take care of is like OLX classified and OLX autos in the Asian markets as well as in the Latin market. We also have a presence in Turkey. We also have presence in, additional to that, like we also have presence in North America, US. So all in all, our user base, both for our autos business as well as for our classified business, is spread across multiple locations, and I can say definitely multiple continents. But as internet spread is increasing nowadays, and the expectation of our end consumers are also increasing, which is rightfully so as well. Everyone wants to have an experience which is like click away. All of them want a very, very seamless experience. In our case, the complexities are that, as I said, like our customer base is spread across multiple geographies. We have multiple development teams, again, that spread across in multiple locations, not only in India, but we also have presence in Spain. We also have people in Barcelona, like specifically in Spain, and then we have Poland. Then we have some people in Argentina as well who are working on this. So all in all, what we need is something that gives us access in multiple locations, that also enable our development teams to work in parallel. And in our world, I think the scale at which we are dealing right now is somewhere close to 90 million monthly active users that comes on our platform, and somewhere close to 8.5 to 9 million daily active users that comes on our platform, which means it's a decently scaled platform. Definitely highly available is something which is a basic hygiene sort of thing with that sort of scaled platform. And if I correlate all of these complexities and probably I'll say good challenges to solve for, I think cloud is the only way to get into that. Even we at OLX also started our journey from moving from on-premise to the cloud side of it, probably five and a half years back. And that's where we made multiple. So whenever you plan anything, like anyone plans anything to move to cloud, they also need to understand it, that it's a it can be very complex and time consuming sort of situation. You need to understand what can be your downtime that you can take, because when you move your infrastructure from on-prem, or let's say private cloud to public cloud, or maybe a hybrid cloud to a different cloud, maybe public cloud, or maybe in our case, one more scenario is also true where we are moving from public cloud to public cloud. So there can be different complexities in which people have to plan. But I think the most important part is, first you need to understand that, hey, what are your challenges, what you are looking for when you are moving to any cloud provider. In our case, as I said, like it was multiple locations. It was also the issue in maintaining the overall infrastructure at our level, like having that skill set to maintain everything, though our core business is not to maintain the infrastructure, but to provide different use cases on classified as well as on autos journey. Apart from that, as I said, like it's a massive user base. So there can be peaks based on different seasonalities that can come. And hence someday you need infrastructure which only need, let's say, only good for 9 million people. On some other day, it can be like suddenly it'll jump to 12 million or 12 or maybe 13 million. There can be spikes. If you are in on-premise systems, then managing that sort of peak is something which is very, very tough. Either you have to over provision your systems, which will give you high cost, or you need to be ready, like as a flick that, hey, now I'm very good in predictions that, hey, tomorrow my users will suddenly come on our platform and hence I'll need to over provision it. So all of these are pretty complex problems to solve for. Apart from that, if you are not in cloud, then you also need to ensure that your development teams are as productive as possible, because right now in OLX use case, there are capabilities that we have built completely on cloud that helps our development team to build things in parallel, deploy things in parallel, as well as maintain things in parallel. So it's almost, we follow CI/CD in our world, which helps us not only to integrate but also to deploy things as fast as possible. Completely automated suite is what we are dealing with. Coming back to your original question, I think this is all about OLX, but whenever someone decides that, hey, we want to traverse the same journey, they need to be cognizant enough about their own complexities, about downtime, about the kind of data that they have, kind of platform they want to get into, whether it is just a platform as a service or infrastructure as a service or software as a service. In our case, OLX is almost like a software as a service, because we deliver multiple experiences, multiple products, definitely for internal use cases, but we operate like a software as a service, which means not only runtime, not only networking, not only storage, but also application data, everything is automated in our world. So first, plan your downtime, plan your data movement, plan your model in which you want to get into it. Once you have that clarity that, hey, I am going to get into infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, or software as a service, then you need to plan your people, because that requires a massive set of skill set. You need to have those people who will enable you to traverse that journey, and that those people will also help you to choose your right cloud partner. So right now, like if you just get into Gartner magical quadrant of cloud infrastructure, then there are different players. Out of that, the top three are definitely AWS. Then we also have GCP, which is Google Cloud, and then Azure. So identifying which is the right partner for you to traverse that journey will also be very, very critical. Once you decide that, then you need to build your strategies to quickly move your data. For example, if you have 1 terabyte of data and 1000 Gbps of line, then it can take, let's say, 3 hours. If you have 1000 terabyte of data, then it can take 100 days to transfer your data from your on-prem to, and you cannot have that 100 days of downtime for your business, right? And second is, if you are a financial institution, then having high control on your data is also very important. So probably you may not want to get into the public cloud setup. Probably you want to get into private or maybe a hybrid cloud setup. So all of these are very, very important questions, which people have to think when they are planning to get into the cloud migration setup.
Thank you, Rahul. I think you covered key highlights there. And one thing that you stressed on is identify why you're doing this journey. And you have mentioned about some of the factors which triggered this for OLX. You mentioned high availability. You mentioned scalability, meeting demand on a seasonal variance basis, right? There will be your peaks and troughs, and you don't need to oversize yourself or undersize yourself, which would have been difficult to do in an on-premise environment, as you rightly called out. You also have incorporated some good development practices, because you have a distributed development team and all of that. You mentioned CI/CD. Data volumes was another critical aspect for you in considering this journey. So all good factors that lead you right into the cusp of a cloud transformation journey. But then you also summarize that by saying that the strategy revolves around what your strategy is for your data, what your strategy is around your partner or people, because that's the layer that will be the foundation for actually embarking on a journey like this. And then very important, what is the technology? And you mentioned, SaaS, PaaS, IaaS, etc. So absolutely able to relate to this. Thank you so much, Rahul. I'll dive into the next question, going on from there. So, and I think you hinted a little bit about it in your answer as well. So every business, they have something existing. Like there'll be something which will be on premise, there'll be something on cloud. Like you mentioned, you move from one public to another public and all. So there are a plethora of options, tools, technology platforms out there right, to choose from, and it can get very confusing if someone is embarking on a journey like this. So would you like to share with us how you evaluated what the right tool sets will be and what that digital roadmap will look like while we're executing this transition?
I think very, very important question, Sheena, and thanks a lot for summarizing the previous question as well. I think you have beautifully done it. Coming back to the original this question, see, first thing to start with is look into the maybe this magical quadrant, right? Like this gives you at least a good perspective. There are players like Alibaba, there are players like Telstra, there are players like Oracle, IBM. There are players like AWS, which is Amazon, and Google and Microsoft. So I think that quadrant really helps very, very quickly. Like if you're not located in China, then you have a lot more flexibilities. Then that quadrant gives you that, hey, these are top 3 players. So that can be one way to look into it. But honestly speaking, after that, it depends on your business model. It depends on the kind of data. It depends on the kind of volume that you are handling. To give you a few examples, see, though now almost all top 3 players cover a lot of things, and hence it is very, very complex even to identify one. But at a very high level, I think few parameters that helps you to understand is first, for example, in case of OLX, we are mostly on open source technologies. Does your cloud provider support the open source technologies? That's one. Second, as I said, we are a multi-geography platform. Hence, does your cloud provider support the locations in which you are operating? For example, we have data centers in Ireland, we have data centers in Virginia, and we also have a data center in Singapore. Singapore helps us to serve very good experience to our customers in Indonesia and in India. But if we try and use Ireland or Virginia to serve our customers in Asia, I think that will be catastrophic. Like people will really not like it because latencies will be huge. So based on your preference, like which all locations you are operating or you will be operating, I think that will again be a very, very important criteria. And one more thing also, see, it is definitely tough to enter into one public cloud or any cloud setup, but it is way more tougher to get out of it. So yes, you need to be right in the beginning. At least you should have 2 to 3 years of visibility. And based on that, you choose based on location, you choose based on your open source preferences, you choose based on cloud provider service roadmaps. So for example, in case of AWS, it gives you all level of capabilities: software as a service, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and on top of that, data as a service. On top of that, maybe functions, cloud functions as a service, and on top of that, software as a service. And there are a lot of AAS now, which all the cloud providers as a service has already evolved. And for us, the biggest benefit with AWS or maybe with any cloud provider is that we get a lot of managed services on it. So now we don't need to hire any database administrator because I think cloud takes care of that thing for us. Second part is another part is security. So it's very, very critical for us to maintain our local compliances, data policies, as well as our infrastructure should be highly secure. So just to give you an example, in our India setup, we recently got a DDoS attack. And in that attack, we received 5.5 billion requests. That to dummy bot requests, 5.5 billion requests. In a normal on-prem setup, your systems can go down like in few seconds. Like nobody can sustain that sort of load. But if you are on cloud, definitely you have elasticity in terms of compute power, but you also have CDN capabilities, which helps you to have a bot manager, WAF layers on premise, which helps you to even curb the traffic. And for us, it was like zero downtime. Our business users, our end users were not even aware about that, hey, there was a DDoS attack that's going on. So hence security, what kind of CDN and DNS sort of capabilities your cloud provider provides. And then cloud function capability. Nowadays, there are a lot of cases where we want to write jobs. We want to write schedulers. We don't want to provision applications on a continuous basis because there is a discrete use case. So a lot of cloud providers, both like GCP as well as AWS, they provide their cloud functions. On top of that, every company is heavily getting into AI ML right now. So all of these providers also give you a lot of capabilities around data science or data capabilities, big data storage sort of capability. Last on that is, as I said, everyone is using Mongo, Voltage, or maybe Voltage specific to AWS, but Cassandra, or maybe people are using Redis. So does your cloud provider gives you a managed service for them as well? So consider all of this: location, service roadmap, data compliance, security, data science capabilities, and maybe the overall roadmap of the managed service. These can be few of the things. Though it is a very, very deep topic, I doubt that few minutes will be suffice. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rahul, for that. So beautifully articulated, I think. And what you said is some key criteria that might help you in designing the right tools and technologies could be because you were, for example, big on open source. That was a very important factor for you in designing that. So similarly, there could be investments that are already made, which might be very crucial not to let go. So that could, and the support that your cloud service provider provides for integrating those or working in tandem with some of those investments might be key. The second thing you mentioned, very important, multi-geography support, DCs in multiple centers. So different requirements that those geographies will bring through. So support in those geographies. The third thing which you mentioned is your cloud service provider capability, which could be what kind of managed services they provide you, because you don't want to worry about things like DBAs or any other kind of support. That regular run part you want to let go, right? So that was one part of that cloud service capability you mentioned. You mentioned a very important topic, which is about security and compliance. This is one critical, thing that right now, post the pandemic, especially, has taken very high predominance. And you, thank you for sharing one use case which you had to experience as well there, but absolutely relevant in the decision for your cloud service provider, and also some of the advanced capability that these, providers provide, like you mentioned, data science, AI, ML, big data storage, and everything. Thank you so much. Articulated and very well answered, Rahul. I'll ask you one last question before I let you go. For those who are embarking on a journey of this kind, right? Because one key question is, all of this is a lot of investment. And how are you able to demonstrate the ROI from these digital investments for your, management or your board, who will always ask that critical ROI question?
Yeah. So I think ROI, there are different ways to look into it. In our world, we have created a term called QCTI: quality, cost, time to market, and impact. So impact is core to anything or everything that we are doing, but either you should get a benefit in terms of quality, which is like giving the best experience without bug sort of experience to your end customer. Either you should get a definite benefit in terms of cost. Definitely your cost should reduce, may not happen immediately, but happen over the time. And then time to market. Nowadays, I think whenever I talk to CFO or CEO, they always tell me that, hey, okay, CFO is worried about the cost, but I think CEO is always worried about saying that, hey, how fast we can deliver. So time to market is also something which is very, very, very important. So these are three ways. QCT, delivering the impact, is a way, at least in my lens, to generate any ROI. To give you a few examples, see, we are heavily into, as I said, like we are a multi-geography setup. We are operating in a multi-geography setup. So if we follow a classic traditional way of development things, then probably we'll build for one country. And as I said, right now we are supporting 11 countries. So if we build for one country and start shipping it to and then there is a stabilization, like A/B experimentation, and whether it proves that, hey, yes, feature is working fine. So if you follow that process, ultimately 11th country may take few years to move that feature. That's one. Second is, if you are not using your cloud very optimally, then, for example, a few years back, we used to serve. So there is a metric called cost to serve 1,000 monthly active user, and we used to get into a cost of $13 for serving 1,000 monthly active users. With the proper provisioning, using containerization like Kubernetes and all, we were able to reduce that cost from $13 to serve 1,000 mouths, from that to $5.6. So that's like just the cost came to half of the number. Hence, you need to be very skillful to use cloud, use managed services. And you should be very good in using containerization to justify that thing. And then you should be very good in other capabilities like Git, pipelines, CI/CD, templatizations that helps you to ship very, very fast. So time to market, quality, and yeah, in case of quality, I think we are completely automated. So this sort of platform approach, PaaS, and then ultimately get into SaaS, that gives us a capability where we can automatically test. So it is like there are multiple microservices. So hence, multiple development teams are working on things. They build it, they ship right away. As soon as they as soon as they push it to production or master branch, automatic automation suite start trigger. So that test everything because we have deep capabilities around CDN. So we ship it to 5% of our end user. And then we test that, hey, whether it is working fine. And then system automatically start increasing the adoption. So reducing most of the manual effort and getting into more and more automation can give you good benefits in terms of quality, cost, and time. But yeah, I'll keep on repeating: quality, cost, and time. These are the three ways to judge your ROI.
Thank you, Rahul. Quality, cost, time to market, and impact. I think great, four criteria, pillars to have around which your business case would revolve around and your ROI. And it's very interesting what you shared with us, how you brought down that $13 to $5.6 for 1,000 monthly active users. Some kind of metric like that will definitely be very powerful for showing the ROI of your digital transformation journey. And I think you touched on what I tell my clients, and it's a very important aspect, which is, it's not about moving some lift and shift something which is on-premise to a cloud platform. It's also about how you modernize that application. You mentioned microservices, you mentioned containerization, absolutely bang on. And without that DevOps engine and the automated testing that comes along with it, that zero downtime to be able to push in your new features, your application changes, your whatever the go-to-market part of it, right? That's when this whole thing comes together and you achieve that ROI of that cloud journey. I think very well articulated. Thank you so much, Rahul, for your time. It's been a very insightful discussion with you. I will hand this back to you, Deepti.
Thanks a lot, Sheena.
Well, thank you, Sheena, for steering that great conversation. And thank you so much, Rahul, for sharing your knowledge with us. Ladies and gentlemen, coming up is yet another valuable session. So stay tuned just a few minutes from now.